Just over a year ago, my wife took off her wedding rings, and it changed the trajectory of my life forever. Hey everybody, welcome to Kirk's Journey. And I know I've talked about it before in my testimony, but we're on day 74 here. It's March 15th. And I'm gonna give you some updates here at the end of the video, but I just kind of wanted to go over the story in a little detail about how a year ago changed my life, if you haven't heard. Like I said, a year ago during the Super Bowl, my wife took off her wedding ring. So like, comment, subscribe, and share. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to say that in September of 2024, I walked out of my marriage. My wife and I had been arguing quite a bit. We'd been married for 20 plus years. We have 2 kids. And I felt the grass was going to be greener on the other side. I'd be happier down the road. I'd be free. I'd be able to just do what I wanted to do, travel where I wanted to travel, and just live my life. I run an escape room business on the side for weekends and evenings of my day job. And we bought the property and it came with an apartment. So that was my freedom. And I just thought I had it all. I had an apartment I could rent cheap off my business. I would have my own space for my collectibles, for my things, for my stuff. And, I just thought that life was going to be so much better. And I had the blinders on, and the devil had me totally wrapped up and confused and deceived. God had a different thing in mind. So throughout those months, through the holidays, I went home and visited. She asked me if I'd stay the night here and there, and she'd say, "Are you going to stay?" And I'd say, "Nope," and I'd get going. And I just thought, in my head, I was so conceited. I just thought to myself that, I'm going to set the phone down here for a moment, but I just thought I was in total control, that I can come and go as I please into my house and apartment and just live this free life. How wrong I was. And the moment that changed that was the Super Bowl last year. We'd been amicable doing things. And in January, I went into a concert for my son, talking with my folks and thinking, we've got to get something signed here. It's been months. We didn't have any separation agreement. We didn't have anything signed. Everything was still me living in the house, address-wise and everything. And I was talking with my folks and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I need to get things moving forward. We need to start separating this stuff, and talking to an attorney, divorce, whatever. And 30 minutes later, I walked out wanting to save my marriage. And I thought that's the way it was going, but God wasn't in the middle of it yet. And we started, just kind of going out here and there. And I was popping out more and visiting. And on the Super Bowl, my wife had her rings off. I went out to her folks to watch the Super Bowl, and the rings were off. And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. That started the chain of events that led me to being the man I am now. And I see that God used me feeling like I'm on top of the world and I can just run back to my marriage when I want to, and nobody can stop me. And, it's like everybody's going to accept me back, and I'm just going to be like the prodigal son, and that's not the case. She pulled away and took her rings off and was like, I don't know if I want this marriage anymore. So I didn't know what to do. And I've always believed in God. I've just been lukewarm with him. I haven't walked steady with him. But there was an innate feeling inside of me that I need to save my marriage. I need to reconcile my marriage. I need to make this work out. God placed a desire in my heart at that concert in January and showed me my wife. He showed me her beauty inside and out, and what a wonderful person she is, and how lucky I was to have her in my life, and how I was focused on the negative and not any of the positives that she was doing, and how wonderful of a mother she was, and just how wonderful of a person she is. And it showed me how cruddy of a person I was. And I just remember coming back to this apartment, just right here actually on this carpet, and and talking to God and saying, I don't know what to do. And then I asked her if I could go to church. We went to church for years on and off, and I hadn't been going for a while. And there was a new pastor I'd only met once before. And she said, yeah, you can come to church, but it doesn't mean that marriage is fixed. So I went to church with them that Sunday, and I remember talking to the pastor afterwards. I said, hey, nice to meet you. The last time I met you, our daughter was in the hospital and he came to see her. And I said, better circumstances? And he's like, yes. And he's like, are you guys going to take your normal trip to Florida this year? And I said, well, with the circumstances, I don't know. Because he saw me wearing a Disney shirt. And he knew that we were a family that liked to go to Disney because Julie and the kids went to church every week. I said, I'm not sure with the situation here. I said, she had went out in the lobby, and I said to him, I don't know if you heard or not, but under my teeth, I was like, but I'm trying to work things out, but she's unsure. And he looked me dead in the eyes, and he said, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want any chance of saving your marriage or being with that woman, you need to get right with the Lord. And I looked right at him, and I was like, that's what I'm trying to do here. And that led a series of events the next week where I called him on the phone, and we talked for an hour and a half. And I told him as truthfully my side of the story, and I tried to be as truthful as possible about how horrible of a person I was, being mean. My words stung. My words destroyed a lot of things. And took ownership for my fault. And he recommended I had watched some videos, Dan Mohler's marriage testimony videos, and I did. And those, at the end of the first one I watched, it was an hour and a half, I stood up and I just looked up and I said, Lord, I want you to change my life. And that's where the lightning bolt hit. And that changed my life. The Lord, at that moment, he didn't hesitate. He, just like he did at that concert in January, in an instant, I felt like a frying pan hit me in the back of the head, like, you dummy, look at her. It was an instant. He took the blinders off. And in that moment, he was like, I'm changing you. And he peeled away all the bad music and the bad movies and the bad things that were in my life. I mean, instantly, I had no desire for any of that. I felt literally changed. I felt like hands pushed me down onto my knees in worship, and I put my head down in the couch, and I cried and I prayed, and I just loved the Lord, and I gave my life to him, and I submitted and surrendered everything to him, and that's where I've been. So yes, the Lord works in people's lives, and he changed my life. And that Super Bowl moment, that act that may seem so small, because I had my ring off for a while, but seeing that was the catalyst that made this change happen. And it's been one of the roughest years, but it's been one of the most rewarding, because I know I am a child of Christ now. And no matter what, the Lord is always with me. So thank you for following me on this journey. There's videos since January 1st of this year. I just wanted to go over that and reiterate it. And I did promise you at the end of the video, I'd give you a life update. So basically today was Sunday, March 15th. Like I said, day 74. And we went to church, and then we had a good lunch. We went to McDonald's and had a good lunch, and we had lots of fun. And yeah, it was just a good family day. Just doing some things, and I just feel really good and confident about things. It's been a very busy weekend. I'm about to go hit the hay and get some sleep because Monday's tomorrow. But yeah, the things with my children and Julie seem to be going very well. So I'm happy for that. I appreciate your prayers, so please continue praying for me. And even if you're watching this video a year from now and circumstances are different, please pray for me anyway. Prayer is always good for the situation. Leave a comment below, and I will pray for you and any of your needs. Love to hear from you. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Thank you for watching. God bless.